Renaissance Junior, all is well? And all is in divine order. And so it is. Maybe we'll all stand. And just repeat after me. God so loved the world that God gave me this day. It's time for me to incline into greater love. And so it is. You may be seated. All this talk about love, returning to love. But we are love. We are love. But sometimes it seems like we forget that co-creation process. God created us in the image and likeness. God is love. So we have to be love, right? Right? We have to be love. But there's something about this thing called love that puts us in the mindset that we're traveling alone. There was this old song. I don't want to sing today again. But Daisy, it was this song called I Found Love on a Two-Way Street. Anybody remember that song? Ba-da-da-da, and lost it on a lonely highway. Love on a two-way street. And lost it on a lonely highway. Remember that song? And that is so indicative of how we define our life. Traveling down a two-way highway with God, co-creating, and then at some point, love leaves us. And we think we're traveling alone to a dead-end street. Alone. Everywhere we look, we have the sense that we're all alone. I'm in it all by myself. I'm the only one. You ever felt like that? I'm the only one that can be feeling the way I'm feeling. I'm the only one that's been going through the things that I'm going through. I'm the only one. But I have an inclination, a hunch, a suspicion that this is the time that you and I need to commit ourselves to inclining our hearts. Inclining our hearts. Think about that. Inclining our hearts. To the point where all we can do is point to praise, to prosperity, to protection, to perseverance, through all the episodes on the pathway of love. Because all is love. If you understand this, life is about this unfolding of love. Unconditional love. Can we say that? Unconditional love? I'll take it all in. Unconditional love. And I call life an episode. Episodes. So much of our life is about drama, isn't it? Drama. Life as an episode. A little drama, a little suspense, truth unfolds, and we move on. An episode. A good show always has drama. It has suspense. Truth unfolds, and we move on. Think about the thing that you worried about 6 months ago. Last year on this date, what were you worrying about? Do you remember? That thing that had you all messed up. What was it? Can't remember, can you? But it was dramatic at the time, suspenseful. It unfolded, and then it went away. We moved on. And that's life. Each episode is supposed to be filled with drama, filled with suspense, and filled with truth unfolding. And the truth of the matter is, God loves you. And that's all it is. If you understand that, love, God steps in and presents the opportunity to love. The drama, the suspense, the truth unfolding, and we move on. The big headline, the breaking news, the pandemic sweeps the world. The monkeypox is here. Oh no. Political scandal in the White House. Race, gender, transphobic sentiments are spread broad and wide. And people doubt, am I valuable? Am I precious? Am I lovable? All those things about ourselves that make us question our value, our worth. And then we say, gas prices are skyrocketing. And I have to make the choice. Do I eat or pay for gas? Do I pay a bill or pay for gas? But we're constantly in motion. What about our personal headlines? The things that grab our own attention. There was this survey that I read that says that most of us, by the age of 30, have already stumbled somewhere in life. Stumbled in at least 2 places. A relationship with a significant other. Marriage, divorce, problems with kids, career, finances, addiction, or we're haunted, constantly haunted by the fact that we didn't wholeheartedly get focused and pursue whatever it was we wanted to be, that we wanted to have, that we wanted to do. Anybody ever been haunted by those reflections of the past? The things that we left behind, and now they become the shadow, the trail. And they betray our trust in God. And they leave us on the side of a road somewhere, thinking, am I still lovable? Am I worthy? That's the challenge. Psalms 119 says, I incline my heart. Can we say that? I incline my heart. Inclining your heart means elevating to a higher level of trust, a higher level of truth, a higher level of love, divine love, agape love. Then there's pressure, life pressure. And it puts us in the situation, the scenario of being in a pressure cooker. You ever felt like you were in a pressure cooker? Everything's about to boil over. Pressure cooker, those pressure moments. William Faulkner says, the past is not dead. In fact, it's not even the past. If we haven't dealt with our unresolved issues, do anyone here have unresolved issues? Does anyone have unresolved issues? You don't have to admit to it. Michael's like, got the alligator hand going on. Unresolved issues. Childhood wounds. Adult scars. Childhood wounds. Adult scars. They have to be healed to move on. The best way to heal those wounds and those scars are for us to incline our thoughts, This is not years of therapy on someone's couch. This is making the decision that I incline my mind, my thoughts, my spirit. I incline and I move on. See, life is not this consistent arc. You know how we want to listen to the music, the songs, read the poems, and they all talk about this arc of the covenant. And all we have to do is think, wish, pray, and meditate, and it's present. But the reality of this is we have to make some choices. Pressure forces choices. In that pressure cooker, when things are about to boil over, we have to make decisions. But let me put my twist on pressure. Pressure is privilege. Can we say that pressure is privilege? How can pressure be a privilege? How can pressure be a privilege? The Psalm said, I incline my heart, not just for the episode of today, the drama of today, the suspense of the day, the problem of today, the fear of today, the struggle of today. We're talking about lasting change. Lasting change requires us to incline our hearts. That means that you have to act upon the inclination, the choice that we have to incline our mind. And so we have that choice. I act upon my attitude. I incline my heart. See, the challenging thing about life is, it's just like any other tool or instrument, car. You have to turn it on for it to work. Everything has a power system, an operating system that requires it to be turned on. I don't know any tools, any vehicle where you can't turn it on. And so when we talk about inclining our heart so we can return to love, it means that we have to travel to make up the distance that we see separating ourselves from where we want to be in that space of love. And so it requires us to turn it on and to turn it up. That's pretty deep. Now let's go a little bit deeper. Can we go a little bit deeper? I wonder, how are you inclined to think about your life? How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself on an incline or on a decline? How do you regularly describe yourself? Is it on an incline or decline? I'm catching hell. That's what we hear a lot of. Every description about every negative thing that's happening. And then at the end of that, you say, I'm blessed and highly favored. And it's mixed messaging. So it's like being on a teeter-totter ride. My question for you this morning is, can you afford to turn off your cell phone? Can you afford to put it on vibrate? Can you afford to turn off the TV? Can you afford to quit surfing the internet? Can you afford to get off of Facebook, Twitter? Can you afford to let it go and redefine yourself as inclining? Can you do that this morning? I know most of us hold the cell phone as sacred. Question for each one of us. How many of you hold your cell phones more often in the run of a day than you do the Bible? Seriously. How many of us make this our sacred tool? How many of us rely on this and the words that come through this more than we rely on the spiritual word? How many of us rely on this to the point where we can get a text and it changes our mood instantly? How many of us turn to Facebook and all of a sudden there's a post that doesn't present a spiritual opportunity, and we think, oh, it's confirmed, the world is going to hell. How many of us do that? When the cell phone becomes more powerful than the word, there's a redirection that must happen. We must incline to a higher level. And that's truth. So we ask the question, how do we elevate? How do we incline? A few years ago, Leah and I took a vacation to Hawaii, Maui. And we got the notion that we're going to take this tour, the road to Hana. Remember that? If you've ever been to Hawaii and you got on that mountain, it's very steep. And the road is very narrow. It's barely 2 lanes. And we had traveled on this van, excursion van. Got to the top. It was beautiful. There I was, hanging out in the heavens. Just hanging out with God. Thinking to myself, this is the closest I've ever been to God. The road to Hana. And on the way back down, the van conked out on us. And there we are, near the top of this steep, narrow road. And people are panicking. Oh my goodness, we're going to die. The steep, narrow road. And all I could do is get out the van. Y'all remember what a Walkman is? Oh, y'all old too. All right, good. With a cassette tape, you remember that? Anybody remember 8-track tape? We have an older congregation, Michael. But I'm there with my Walkman. And I step outside the van, and I just sit on the side of the rail. And I'm looking, and I'm in this place where I'm still thinking to myself, I'm in the high heaven. And so I'm just smiling, laughing. And Leah's being asked questions by the other tourists. What's wrong with your husband? What's wrong with him? He's out there singing, he's smiling, and it seems like he's holding a conversation with somebody. Now I'm thinking, I'm thousands of feet in the air. Again, I'm closer to God than I've ever been. And after this experience, Leah and I ain't going on no more mountain excursions again. So I better ask God for something big. Something big, like a Benz or a house or something. But I asked God for divine wisdom. At a time in my life where I'm losing people to death, where I'm not sure where my career is going. At that time, the best thing in my life was Leah, because she's the rock. But I'm having this conversation with God, and I'm saying, God, since I'm this close to you, shed some light on what I'm going through, these dark moments that I'm experiencing. Tell me, what's the road I should be traveling? Matthew 7:14 says, small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to a life of truth, and only a few find it. That bothered me. The last part of that, Leah, it bothered me. Only a few find it. Does that bother you? Why can't we all find it? Why can't we all find it? But the few find it. I want to be in that few. I've had enough tragedy, disaster, disappointments. I want to be in that few, don't you? I want to be in that number. But it's narrow. It's steep. But the question we ask ourselves, are we willing to go on that journey? To reconnect with the higher level of love that we seek. When we talk about that love on a two-way street and lost it on a lonely highway, we're supposed to reconnect. But it's like going through the fog sometime. You ever walked or driven in the fog? Heavy fog, dense fog. And all you know is that I think there's something beyond the fog. I think there's something beyond the fog. And so you don't pull over. You don't stop the journey. You keep going through the fog. Why do we keep going through the fog? The heavy fog, the dense fog. We trust. We trust what's on the other side of the fog. And so we keep going. We tell ourselves, God so loves me that he makes provision for me to go through the fog and not see what I think could be there, but trust that it's there. You ever been through that fog and really thought about, what are you doing going through that fog? The heavy fog, the dense fog. You trust. You trust in the word. I so love you that I'll lead you through the fog. And that's all we're saying. We're saying it's a return to love. A return to love is that I return to total faith. How many of us can say that we have total faith? Total faith. That's what we're moving towards. Total faith. You're talking about a turnaround strategy. All those things that concerned me, bothered me, worried me on that road to Hana were released. And my life began to unfold. And then it comes out later on when I do my research that the road to Hana means with every steep turn, every curve, you're supposed to elevate and release. Elevate and release. Elevate and release. And that's so much about our life. With all these experiences that we're having, we take them all in. And we keep elevating, knowing that love is present. Love is kind. Love is gentle. Love is patient. Love is for me. It's about me. It's who I am. It's my co-creation process with God. And so we return to love when we see that all we're doing is inclining ourselves. We make the inclination to incline. We become curious. What if I elevate? What if I continue to elevate, to elevate, to elevate? The funny thing about being on the side of that mountain trapped, there was a release, a feeling, a looking down at the world and saying, are all those problems, those issues, challenges, look so small from way up here. It's time for us to incline, to elevate, we can do this. I found love on a two-way street. Now I'm determined to find that street again. It's marked, and it says Love Street. And I have Love Jones to get back to love. And so it is. And so I leave you with 6 little tips. That's all I want to do. 6 quick tips to incline. Can I give you 6 quick tips? Only cost you $19.99. But if you get them today, I'm going to throw in an extra tip during the prayer. Number 1, stay on the steep and narrow road. It's less traveled, only a few make it through it, but it's worth it. Guaranteed. It's worth it. Decide to have total faith in the truth of God's word. Decide that you'll continuously incline your heart and elevate back to love. Decide, I will live cool, calm, and collected. Because God love puts me in a place where I simply know all is well and all is in divine order. I no longer need to judge. I simply incline. And as I'm inclining, I begin to notice in that inclining position, you can't look back. So the only thing you can see is the road ahead, the future ahead. And all you can see as you take those steps forward is that you're moving closer to the Creator, the Mastermind, God. When I hear, see, experience something or someone that seems out of harmony with love, I still elevate to a higher level of love. And as I move, I cast this effect. But love resonates through me, around me, beyond me. And love takes over. All I see is you as love like me. Can we do an affirmation together? Repeat after me. Dear universe, may I now embrace who I am, in body, in mind, and in spirit. May all the cracks in my consciousness be filled with divine light and divine love. Today, this day, right now, I choose to incline and elevate as love. And so it is. Renaissance Trinity, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But be the love agent that you are, dispatched from a God that is love. Thank you for having me this morning. Appreciate you.